Happy Friday night, everybody. We're back here on the NECC for some Overwatch gameplay. The 2 has officially been dropped for a little while now, and Jobin and Ray joining everybody once again. And last time we got to cast this game, it was a slightly different version of the game than it is now. Officially, all the new heroes are out of quarantine, so the handcuffs are officially off for every single team in Collegiate.
That's going to make these games and these situations so much more exciting. I mean, we have a cat on a jetpack that we can see flying around the map, plus all the amazing new heroes. Domina has been showing to be a pretty strong tank in a lot of different scenarios. Very pokey like Sigma, but just the amount of damage she can lace out is massive. So it's going to be a great time as we have our first game. It will be Division 3 as we have Southeastern Oklahoma State going up against Kansas Club Crimson. So we got an Oklahoma and Kansas battle royale.
Yeah, and so far on the season, Southeastern Oklahoma, they're sitting at 2-0, so at least on paper, the favorites going in. Kansas, a bit of a rougher start so far, going 0-2, but I think the one point that I said it before we actually went live, I feel like this next, I'll say 2 to 3 weeks of Collegiate is just going to be an absolute fiesta with teams watching OWCS, trying to mimic certain comps. I know there was like a boot camp stream that happened last week, so the pro teams got to at least show a little bit of what the new heroes can do, and teams now, I feel like you just have so much more variety. You mentioned, I mean, there's quite literally a hero now that you can just tether and fly your teammates off into the sunset if you'd like, and so much creativity, I think, now with some of these new heroes. So even though if you're Kansas, you are down 0-2, I think the playbook opens up a lot more, and you can make the series a lot more wild and maybe increase the variance and your chances to win.
I think to it, especially since we're 2 weeks now into the new patch, basically. It's been enough time for a lot of collegiate teams to possibly pull the trigger. Like, maybe you don't play them last week because you're still ironing out the details and you'd rather go with something that's a little bit more safer. But I'd also say when you get into these lower divisions as well, I mean, sometimes you don't even have to play the new heroes. Just play what you're good at. I mean, the thing with Domina that I've noticed, at least playing her and playing against her, it's like you get a good rush composition, just get on top of her. There's not a whole lot she's going to be able to do because her push just doesn't do enough to keep people off of her. So you just get past that shield with a rush comp and it can be lights out.
Yeah, and if you're an amazing Sojourn and Cassidy player, there's no real reason for you to go pick up the Emery or something like that when you realistically know, okay, maybe I can find some good potential in this, but these heroes I know, I love, they obviously still work very well in the meta. It's not like the old stuff is bad now, right? We just got a few new wrinkles into the game that maybe be introduced, and I think you nailed it too. I think the top teams will be maybe have a little more leash to experiment because they've got the fundamentals just so ironclad and tightened down. But some of the lower teams, quote unquote, I think definitely we might see a lot more comfort in just listen, pick what you're good at, pick what you know, and pick what you think is going to get you the safest W.
I say the other thing with the cat is like the uniqueness of the cat is being able to tether and bring someone to a spot, maybe they couldn't get there on their own or just more easily get there. But that also leaves 3 of your team just by themselves when the rest of the 5 could just ignore the flying cat and go kill the other 3, and then not much you can do there. As you can see below, we are starting on Legion. I believe that was a Bastion, and I couldn't tell was that Domina or an Alari. It was Domina bomb.
How?
So no new.
I don't even have Nico to.
Yeah, at least, no, not too surprising again, especially because teams have had a couple weeks to play on the patch. Maybe they've had enough solo queue games, maybe a few scrims where they say, listen, this thing might not be overpowered, but we don't really have an answer for it yet. So we're just going to put it to the back burner for map 1, try to get off to like a nice, easy start, so to speak, at least play into heroes that they've seen before and they have an idea of how the game should play out. And it looks like comfort is certainly going to be the theme of map 1 to get us going. The only, I guess, new-ish pick is the Vendetta, but funny enough, she's old news at this point because we just got the last couple of patches, but definitely still a hero that has that pop-off potential.
Yeah, this is a very meta comp right now. Even though she got hit by the banhammer just a little bit, Vendetta's still a powerful pick. Just a little bit easier to counter with 25 less armor and less lifesteal from her blade.
Yeah, and let's see Kansas and Southeast Oklahoma. Obviously, Kansas, as we said, 0-2, desperately trying to get in the win column. Southeast Oklahoma, it's been a great start to the season. You're 2-0, you're riding high. You got that new patch vibes rolling through the squad. So, first control point unlocking momentarily, and a little bit of chip damage back and forth. It looks like Southeast Oklahoma has the front foot going forward, and yep, it's going to be fake Alfie, the first one taken out in the trade.
Yeah, you do get traded out for Space Maker, so it's still 1-for-1. The Kansas club, though, with the Junker Queen composition, you don't have a ton of sustain, so you need to look to find kills very quickly and rush them down. It's going to be tough when you have the Zarya who can cleanse a lot of this bleed that the Junker Queen relies on.
Yeah, and speaking of that Zarya, we saw Fluff Nuggets just essentially fully charged, holding off 4 separate players from Kansas essentially on their own in the front line, but now we are going to see a cheeky little back cap out of Kansas. Southeast Oklahoma, some of the players got low on health, so they're going to decide to play a little bit of retake here. A lot of damage going in from Allocate, but not enough to finish off the Genji. The contest will now come through, and both teams just doing the eternal dance to try to posture right now.
Yeah, as we get the big kill onto Fake Alive.
Yeah, and we can see Kiriko getting involved as well. Allocate is going to get meleeed out by Zoro, though, so yet again, Kansas, every single time one of their players gets taken out early in a fight, they seemingly find the trade with little to no issue. We do see the Zarya putting out a ton of damage, though. We talked about this pick being just absurdly strong in so many iterations of Overwatch, but now Nuggets is in a very rough spot. The health is able to get regenerated up, but in the meantime, the Sojourn is out of here.
Yeah, that Graviton Surge is going to come out. It's going to be countered by that Kitsune Rush, but all the kills are coming up. Kansas State, back to the spawn room you go, Southeastern. They're going to have to look to recalibrate, because that's the other thing with this new patch, Jobin, was the Zarya got a little bit of a nerf. The amount of damage you do at your highest charge got nerfed in a pretty big way, so you'll still output a lot of damage consistently. Your peak is not nearly as high as it used to be.
And listen, I think that's actually a really, really good nerf for the character, because just the way the kit functions, it's kind of weird to try to nerf. You have to play with cooldown timers, basically. So I think just making her less OP in her final form, like you said, I think it's actually a fair nerf, as we do see the Zarya, of course, killing the next 3 people in the feed and potentially flipping the point for Southeast Oklahoma. They did actually get the capture eventually, and Kansas, honestly, you got the 71% off the back of a Soul Kitsune Rush, so they've got so many tools to just hit the go button and send it whenever they want.
Yeah, the one thing you have to be worried about if you're ping then is just that cleanse coming out from the Kiri. Either you need to use your ult to try and force it to possibly give your Genji a better position, or try and force it out as the blade with the beat.
Yeah, the Genji finds their own position. They were able to find the reset. I didn't know if the timer actually expires. And Southeast Oklahoma, they didn't have a chance in that fight after the opening salvo from the Dragon Blade. That's going to be a full team kill. Kansas's health bars barely even getting into the red territory. They were looking right as rain the entire way through. And they've still got the Deadeye in the back pocket. The Kitsune Rush is almost going to be off cooldown. And they forced out the Kitsune and the ultimate from Allocate. So that is a great exchange for Kansas.
The beat engage now going to come in knowing that they don't have any ultimates. This is the go sign to get aggressive.
Oh, Fake a Life does have the Deadeye activated, not able to hold on to it long enough. The health bar was getting a little bit low for comfort. Goldie and Zoro were able to scoop up a few kills in the meantime, but Kansas, they're beginning to lose the backline, but the Queen lives on. Pingvin able to find another kill, so that means they can at least maybe try to go for another contest here. Southeast Oklahoma, they do scoop up the point for now, and Kansas, 99%. Let's group up as 5. One more fight may seal the deal. Or if you can catch out one of these squishies, that might just do the job for you too. So things looking very, very good for them. And Southeast Oklahoma, they are falling, and this round is going to be over.
Yeah, Fake Alfie absolutely dominating on that Cassidy in this final fight, cleaning things up for Kansas, who, I mean, we kind of talked about it, came in here 0-2, going against the 2-0 Southeastern Oklahoma State. To come out first map and win, 100-60, big time statement, and we're going to have to see what adjustments Southeastern is going to be able to do.
Yeah, 100-60, and they were maybe losing that round for all of 30 seconds. Southeast Oklahoma was the first ones to the capture, and then after that, Kansas essentially played with the lead all the way through, got that 70-20 lead, cycled the ultimates very, very well. They had that lone Kitsune Rush that essentially seals them a team fight. The Deadeye doesn't find any kills, but it keeps all of Southeast Oklahoma off the point for a very long time, and everybody else just playing really well around Pingvin. The healing going through, the DPS doing their thing where they needed to. We saw Zoro get up a big blade to take out 3. So every single player just contributing, and this is what teamwork is about, folks.
Yeah, as we see the teams, the only really swap we're seeing is Spacemaker gone over to this Freya, where you're going to have a lot more open skyways to be able to take angles. So I think that's going to be a smart adaptation, and they already find the Genji.
That is a massive, massive pick, and we actually do see Allocade going for the mirror matchup Genji as well, so deciding maybe the Vendetta, not the optimal pick, or maybe just not doing so well on it. Now you swap over to the Genji. I say a little bit more mobility. Both the heroes very, very mobile, but right now Kansas, they've got absolutely nowhere to go. They get slammed off the point, and now Southeast Oklahoma, can you put them in the absolute box?
For the side of Kansas, I mean, Fake Alive already got halfway to that high noon, so they're putting a lot of damage down. They just need to find their angles and find their spaces in here. It is tough to duel this Freya in the sky, especially with the damage fall the cast is going to have. So you got to help with that front line.
Well, speaking of, you called Fake Alfie's name a second ago, and they're going to open the fight for Kansas with a massive, massive kill. And I don't know what just got into Kansas, but they just walked up, got 4 kills with absolutely zero effort. Spacemaker eventually forced all the way off the map. And just like that, they walk up, get a team kill, and now they can look to flip some of this positioning. And yeah, you mentioned it, this Cassidy is on fire. The Deadeye just about online, and Spacemaker's going to be forced into another swap, just straight raw DPS output with the Soldier.
Yeah, as we're going to see a lot of these just trying to push up with this Zarya, try and put down some pressure. Just has no charge. They're doing a great job of avoiding, going after those bubbles. Finally able to get up to 50.
Yeah, this is a nice cleanse out of the Kiriko, but in the meantime, Alfie's going to pop the Deadeye and able to scoot around the corner and find the headshot onto Spacemaker. So Kansas, that's going to send Southeast at least a few feet back for the moment. Obviously, only that ultimate was needed. So Kansas Club Crimson's going to have basically everything they want. The Kitsune rush out of Robotic Cat. Maybe the engage angle that Southeast Oklahoma's looking for. The Graviton Surge is going to follow up, and then it is a fist fight for the point. And Southeast Oklahoma winning every single one. Only Dark Fox going down.
Big investment from the side of Southeast Oklahoma, though. That was both your Kitsune Rush and your grab. At least you're going to have your defensive utility in this this beat. As the other one good thing is, the grab did force out the beat from Goldie, so now Allocate should have free reign for this blade to just slice through Kansas.
Yeah, obviously Pingvin could definitely set something up with the Rampage if the cleanse doesn't go through in time, but instead it's a backline blade, so the cleanse is actually going to be offline. No reset able to be found. There was so much damage onto Kansas. I thought for sure that Allocate was going to get a few more seconds to cook, but ultimately the Genji will fall, and now Southeast Oklahoma is left scrambling because your Lucio with the beat in the back pocket, that defensive utility, is the only player not back off respawn. So point will be flipped back over to Kansas, and the blade down for Southeast Oklahoma.
Yeah, disastrous fight to get nothing out of that blade. You had to know that Suzu was coming. You needed to make sure you could force that out, and they just were not able to do that.
Oh, we can see the Queen getting a little bit low for the moment. The Kitsune rush, that'll more than sustain the rest of the squad. And now Kansas are the ones playing with these nasty, nasty cooldowns. They've got the Rampage, they've got the Blade, and now they've got a few kills in the feed as well. Yet again, the Lucio Dark Fox dies without even being able to use the beat. There wasn't really an amazing opportunity to use it, but you may have just lost your only chance to use it if Kansas could just keep you back in the spawn for a little.
It feels like they're trying to save it for that Rampage. But I mean, you have a Kiriko. Now they're gonna have Blade and Rampage, so you have to, there's a high chance of Ajax potential.
Oh yeah, luckily Dark Fox is going to go for the early pop this time. We're going to see every single ultimate out of the camp of Southeast Oklahoma. The Dragon Blade out of Zoro looks to even things up just a little bit, but the damage from the Soldier and the sustain from the squad looks like it is going to be enough, and Kansas Club will eventually be wiped out in a team kill. They do invest a few ultimates, however, they've got this funny little thing called the Beat Drop and the Rampage that are both ready to go, and Southeast Oklahoma's got nothing.
Yeah, they used four ultimates in that fight, actually. I mean, they had to be able to get that win. But this Rampage alone should be enough from Kansas. They just have to make sure the Suzu doesn't nullify it.
They just got to time Rampage and that beat drop, and they've got a very good chance to win the fight. The Rampage is going to connect onto 3. It was world class from Pingvin, and now the beat goes in from Kansas, and yeah, this fight was over before it began. The Queen runs down everybody on the back line. The beat makes sure that the win is met, and I hate to say surprising result because, records are records. They don't necessarily mean everything in the world, but very impressive to see Kansas just handle business like that.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas coming through, new patch, no problems, looking very impressive. As you talked about, being able to come through despite being an 0-2 team to really put on a show. And hey, I mean, maybe they get their first win tonight. They start building a little bit of momentum, and who knows where it goes from here. Division 3 is very competitive, but still plenty of season left to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, luckily Pingvin got played the game there. I know we called their name out a few times, but I barely saw the Queen dying, and obviously that goes a lot to the supports and how much healing they were actually able to give her to keep her alive. But very, very impressive how aggressive the Queen was able to play, because the Queen, it can be feast or famine, where sometimes you go in a little too far because you see a triple kill angle, and then you do get one shot because you're not super, super tanky compared to some of the other tanks. But Pingvin just rode that fine line perfectly through both of those rounds, and the rest of the team cycled those ultimates very, very well, and it essentially won them the game at the end.
Again, I think that was a big difference there. Was Southeastern in that final fight when they got the point before the final flip? They used way too many of their ultimates. If they had some to combat that rampage, maybe they have a chance there to make something happen. But it is what it is. They are 2-0. They know how to make requisite adjustments. So we're gonna have to see as the map pick goes into their hands. They can take us wherever in the map pool. So they could take us to the most advantageous map that they see fit.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing with all these heroes and the map pool obviously changing here and there, is that it's basically a sandbox for the losing team to kind of get the perfect scenario they want. We obviously saw Vendetta, and I believe, was it Domino was the other one banned, right? If I'm remembering.
Yeah, it was Domina and it was Bastion.
Oh, not Vendetta. Yeah, Bastion. The Vendetta ended up being played. So yeah, the Bastion and obviously the Domina are going to be unlocked. So maybe one of these tanks is a Domina player. I would certainly be very, very fun, but obviously it's going to be map and mode dependent. I'm sure different scenarios are going to call for different heroes. This Overwatch isn't the one size fits all for the most part, but Southeast Oklahoma, that's certainly a wake up call to get slapped in the face essentially in map one after you had a pretty clear road the last couple weeks. I think they won 3-0 and 3-1 were their series score. So they weren't really tested, and now they've got a very tough test to pass immediately starting on the series.
Only time will tell. We do know substitutes are coming in for SE. Vale is coming in. Space Maker is out. As you can see on screen, we'll be going to Watch Point Gibraltar, which, it's the new Watch Point Gibraltar that's completely ransacked and just ravaged from a big battle between Overwatch and Talon. So it makes things a little bit more interesting. There's a couple sections of the map where they make high ground a little bit easier to achieve, but the map just feels a whole lot different. I'm excited to see how these teams have adjusted to it.
Yeah, typically Winston, D.Va, two tanks that are very, very prolific on this map. And honestly, with the verticality, we do have somebody in the lobby literally named Robotic Cat. I'm just saying, I would not be opposed to see a little furry fella with a jetpack possibly pop up in map 2. Don't know how much experience all the players have, but I just want to see the Winston jetpack cat. I just need to see some of this absolute goofy combo that you can pull off.
I mean, yeah, this is one of the maps we have seen, especially the boot camps, where even if it wasn't a required map, they had certain maps where they were required to play the new heroes. This is one of the maps where if it wasn't required, they still thought about doing the cat just because so much high ground potential to bring different heroes around, flying around the map. So it's going to be fun. I can't wait to get into this one. I love me some Gibraltar. We don't see it enough.
Yeah, I think listen, it's just the new age Overwatch players. They got all these shiny new maps. They forget about the old stuff a lot of the time. I mean, we still get Lijiang and obviously some of the maps, but some of them do slip through the cracks eventually, and then we have to wait 8 months for a map pool to rotate in. But honestly, I'm very, very excited because Kansas, I mean, just unexpected showing in map 1, and now I'm really interested to see what Southeast Oklahoma actually tries to do. Are they going to try to play some of the same heroes as last time? Obviously, the map is going to call for a few different changes, but I mean, the world is truly their oyster. Obviously, the bans are going to come through momentarily. That's actually perfect timing. So D.Va is going to be taken off the board. So that's going to be one of the two tanks I'd expected to see. And then Tracer taken off the table as well. And I mean, someone's got a good Tracer player. That's always a fine ban.
Winton Overwatch, Winton Overwatch. That's what this band tells me. I love me some good Winton Overwatch. He's just kind of been on the back burner for a while just because D.Va was so powerful for so long. Like it was like why am I running a Winston when I could be running a Diva? Now the power skill is definitely a bit more even now. Winston's got the new perk with the chain lightning to be able to move faster when he's electrocuting people. And again, no Diva, so that means this is a dive map. You gotta see the Winston.
Yep, I think we're gonna see probably 2 of them, depending on what preference these tanks have. In Pingvin and Fluff Nuggets, it's actually going to be the Hazard getting picked up for Pingvin. So honestly, after seeing them play the Junker Queen, and obviously Hazard does have some ability to get to high ground, a little bit of a climb and jump and such. So I certainly understand the playstyle. You looked excellent on the Junker Queen. This kind of fills that same role to a degree, but obviously Winton Overwatch tried and true classic, and we are going to see Dark Fox actually just going to pick up the Brig. So I think Southeast Oklahoma is just going to hunker down, group up, and see if they can cook them in a team fight.
Interesting that they're not electing to go with the Ana, which is almost a given when you're playing Winston Comps, is needing an Ana for the anti-nades, for the nanos and stuff like that. They're gonna like to go with the Kiri instead. The one thing about the Hazard though is the Hazard does rely on that slash damage. So being able to having to use that jump and slash to be able to get to certain high grounds, that's where it makes it a little bit more at a disadvantage for a map like this for Hazard.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. You have the cooldown, and you can either use it to get the high ground or to dish out some serious damage, and ultimately you can't have it both ways. And once you do use that slash, if the right click goes offline, then you are kind of just a sitting duck. You can definitely do some damage, but if the ultimate's not online, it's going to be a tough way to go out. But we are going to see said slash to the high ground. Pingvin looking to see if they can scatter this back line of Southeast Oklahoma just a little bit, and it looks like they're going to push him back a little bit. You obviously don't want to lose a fight too early on the choke point, or things can be a little rough. And of course, Vale in for Spacemaker, still picking up the Freya, so we'll see if the super sub can pull anything off as well.
A lot of pressure already put on to Fluff Nuggets on that Winston. Got to be careful. Pingvin, however, they're going to find 2. They do get out.
That was great work out of the Hazard, a little bit of team support on the high ground, and yeah, looks like they are emphatically winning yet another fight. Right click to win, Vale, Robotic, Dark, all dead in moments. And Kansas Club Crimson, they are looking like world beaters in the first 14 minutes of gameplay we've had so far.
Yeah, Pingvin on this Hazard's looking very good, knowing when to take their engages, knowing when to back off and position themselves a little bit better. And as I mentioned, because of the disadvantage you're playing at, you have to be able to position yourself to perfection, and they have been so far.
Yeah, you step out 5 feet out of line, and you may very well be gone in a moment. Speaking of gone in a moment, Goldie's going to fall victim to the Freya in Vale. And now we're going to see if Southeast Oklahoma can press any sort of advantage. We do have Zoro just going back to the tried and true classic of the Sojourn, shutting down a Genji. And that means Kansas Club's going to find a big pick for themselves. They're going to continue marching along here after they maybe take a little bit of control of the high ground. The cart is in motion. And again, they're just looking very good, playing for each other, cycling cooldowns extremely well, targeting out Nuggets, trying to shut down the Winston. The Primal is about to get online, though, and yep, Nuggets looking to see if they can find a few kills. The beat is going to be the response, though, and I don't know if Kansas Club wants to invest any other ultimates after the beat, but it looks like things are going pretty decently considering.
Yeah, Fluff Nuggets trapped. Great Jagged Wall coming out from Pingvin. And that Primal, unfortunately, just ended at the worst time, and they couldn't get themselves out. Fake Alfie has a blade to be able to throw into this fight, and there's no beat. I mean, you don't even have Rally yet. This is going to be a hard one to deal with for Southeastern Oklahoma.
Yeah, not only did you use the Primal, Vale popped their ultimate as well earlier in the scuffle, so 2 big cooldowns offline, and like you said, the Rally not quite ready. Fake Alfie able to pop the Dragon Blade, instantly gets chunked down to 1 HP. Zoro's going to suffer the same fate, but the Kansas DPS will survive for the moment, so despite the ultimate, or not actually being, now it's going to be invested. Yeah, Alfie, I thought maybe they were going to pop it earlier, but now they're going to send it here once that health bar is fully recovered. Pingvin also getting active in the server. Nuggets is going to find an answer back with the Winston, and an amazing counterpunch from Southeast Oklahoma after the back of the blade. That Kitsune rush getting a lot of value for them, and now the tanks going toe-to-toe here. The Genji will break up the 1v1, but Southeast Oklahoma, they get a desperate fight they needed.
Yeah, that was definitely a big-time ult exchange for the side of Southeastern Oklahoma. Now they have this rally to be able to give themselves some much needed sustain for this next fight. Zoro could turn the tide of the map with a big-time overclock, however.
Oh, Penguin's gonna drop the ultimate onto a few players. They are absolutely CC'd 2 of the 9s. There is nowhere to go. We are gonna see a late rally come through from Southeast Oklahoma, and Dark Fox is able to find the shield bash onto Goldie, and now the Winston's going absolutely crazy on the backline. Fake Alfie able to find a beautiful response to find a few kills on the Genji. That is an incredible 1v1, but of course Brig wins those as Southeast Oklahoma wins another clutch fight.
Yeah, that was actually incredible. I thought the rally was going to be, I mean, the rally technically was late. They were just able to make good, despite how late it was. But that was such a good downpour, but Southeastern Oklahoma able to survive. Very well played.
Yeah, stopped them at the goal line. They didn't get that additional time bonus from the checkpoint. I do see a primal dump Fluff Nugget, seeing if they can get active, but maybe Zoro the one targeted out finally. I was going to say this Winston desperately trying to find anything to get their hands on. Eventually, they do shut down the DPS. Pingvin's going to be down to about 40% HP. Southeast Oklahoma looking healthy as ever, as we are going to see Zoro swapping over to the Reaper as Fake Alfie does meet their maker in Fluff. And yet again, that's 3 big fights in a row for Southeast Oklahoma. And now they're showing that strength that I assume they had when I saw that 2-0. They're looking a lot better these last few fights.
I was about to say Zoro said he's tired of the Winston playing the Reaper, but Fluff Nugget's able to take him out almost immediately. It was through the help of a lot of the other players from Southeastern Oklahoma, specifically Vale. But yeah, as you talked about, Southeastern Oklahoma has found their stride. This Winston, especially on second point, does go incredibly strong. You just have these amazing defensive positions that they continue to take.
Fake Alfie able to escape back to the balcony, re-link up with the Lucio, get that healing all the way through. A little bit of shuriken damage into the mid-airship, as looks like Allocade has the blade ready to go, but obviously ultimates right now, they are a dime a dozen. The beat's going to be the first thing invested, and Fake Alfie just going to try to junk down the Kiriko. In the meantime, the Dragon Blade will be sent through, and the resets are a-coming. That's going to be 2 in the feed. Hey Pally's able to scoop one up for themselves, and finally, Kansas Club Crimson finds that team fight they have been searching for what feels like, I mean, it has been honestly like 3 minutes straight of just L after L, and finally they break through, but they haven't got the checkpoint quite yet. It does get stalled.
Yeah, they've already lost 2, has Southeastern Oklahoma. So to me, you just take your licks, you get back to spawn, you try once again, and yeah, that's exactly what they're gonna have to do. Held on to ult, which I think is the big problem, is the good thing. But they were not able to force out any from Kansas, but that was also good patience to not use those there.
Roster Mania continues as well. Allocade now going to opt into the Vendetta, which definitely can be good into the Genji. A little more mobility depending on how those cooldowns are being cycled, and ultimately just maybe more annoying to deal with. We are going to see Zoro, though, try to take control of that high ground. Going to get a face full of lead. Will have to fall back. Death Blossom is online, but as you said, any ultimate right now, if it gets wasted, that may well be a winning or losing play for each squad, and the Primal Rage will expire from Fluff, and the payload about halfway to the end goal.
Yeah, we're rounding just under the final minute on the clock. Kansas took them a while to get seconds, so they don't have a lot of time on this point. They got to make his next attack worth it, but Penguin's already taking so much damage.
Ooh, the beat drop comes in clutch, and then the Death Blossom goes in over top. Zoro does eventually get stunned up. The rally comes through as well, so Southeast Oklahoma off that solo wall, or the second ultimate, the Freya ult as well, and they're actually able to hold down the line, so excellent teamwork out of them, despite losing the first player in the fight. Now you've got a Brig versus Hazard matchup, and ultimately Penguin's going to win those authoritatively. And now you've got Fluff Nuggets able to find the exchange. 15 seconds on the clock, and the only ultimate is going to be Penguin and Hey Pally, but Robotic Cat is right about there as well.
You gotta see the last downpour went absolutely sick, but they're able to get Allocate. There's the one pick they're opening.
Ooh, the Vendetta is not going to be around for a few seconds. A Kitsune Rush out of Robotic Cat. This may be the last gasp for Southeast Oklahoma. We are officially in overtime. No time left on the clock. And the Lucio from Kansas is going to get taken down. And now Zoro's dead as well. Vale's going to help them for a goal line stand. And now you've got a Primal Rage. That should ensure the victory. The Dragon Blade able to find a kill, but Southeast Oklahoma stops him at the 1 yard line. But honestly, Kansas, very, very strong offense. Just that mid-round stall they got forced into was Southeast Oklahoma just showing great fight.
Yeah, I would say considering you're playing the more disadvantageous composition with the hazard on this map, where it's not going to be nearly as good as Winston necessarily his home map. Um, Considering all things there, I mean, to get it almost to the end from a hazard comp, very impressive. We're going to see what Southeastern could do here. As I talked about with the first and second point, playing the Winston's definitely going to feel a lot better and a lot, more natural on a map like this than having to play that hazard. But again, Kansas has been really impressing so far, despite the 0-2 record. So let's see what this 2-0 Southeastern really has when their backs are against the wall like this.
Yeah, and if Pingvin can come out and keep playing these aggressive tanks and playing them as well as they are, I wouldn't even be surprised to maybe see a target ban later in the series if this does go to a fourth or a fifth map, depending on how things shake out, because dominant on the Junker Queen, and right, I want to call it luck when you escape at 10 HP every time and while doing maximum damage, but they've done it repeatedly over and over and over again, just playing the perfect level of cautious, but also playing aggressive at the same time. And it took them a really long time to kind of figure out how to deal with that for Southeast Oklahoma. The Winston definitely gave them basically max value in the mid round there, and it was the MVP of that 5-minute stretch essentially. But now they get to go on the offense. Obviously, Diva's not going to be around. Wouldn't be surprised to see that Winston again, though, considering, I mean, it's Winston on Gibraltar. There's no Diva. You really can't go wrong with it.
Only time will tell. Though, I mean, again, the question to me is hazard, especially on the defense here with the Winston that can jump in and out pretty easily. The hazard doesn't have to go defensively for as much aggression. You can kind of wait for the Winston to come in, then look to, counter dive or counter slash, whatever. Do they continue to play that hazard, or do they look to play something else? I mean, wrecking balls, if you have a wrecking ball player, possibly, but yeah, outside of that, I mean, you'd have to be playing with Diva off the table. You don't have a lot of options for dive tanks.
Yeah, and wrecking ball players are basically in their own category. You either have a ball player or you don't. No one really casually plays wrecking ball, or, some people obviously play it for certain maps, but that truly is one of those heroes where it was either like you're degenerate one trick or it wasn't. You're either extremely good and you don't really have that much experience on it. So we are going to see Pingvin scooping up the hazard yet again. Zoro is going to be picking up the Echo for the time being. So obviously very mobile, can get to the high ground, can deal a ton of damage if they go unchecked. So maybe some nice variation here. Pally scooping up the Ana as well. So the strategy we talked about earlier, you often see Ana on Gibraltar to essentially try to shut down that Winston.
I do like the Echo coming out from Kansas to have a little bit more burst damage to help deal with this Winston. We're going to have to see if that is going to help them. I do also like seeing the Brig Ana coming out on their side as well. That anti-mate is going to be extremely important.
Yeah, that's a lot of defensive and I guess offensive utility depending on how it gets utilized. So they've got a lot of very strong buttons. Alfie's taking a little bit of chip damage on the head glitch, but ultimately the typical space that we see given Kansas Club right now, just going to back up a little bit. You don't want to give away any early picks. Otherwise, it essentially makes Southeast Oklahoma have free reign all the way through the underpass here. So we're going to go back and forth with Allocate in said underpass, but no one falling in the fight just yet. You can tell both teams are playing very, very cautious. And as I say that, the Winston going very far in, but the healing too good to keep him up. Ooh, getting close though.
Yeah, very, very low from both sides on the tanks, but everyone's able to get healed up. Gonna have to go for another fight here as the deflect wasted early, but they're able to get out and can reset these cooldowns.
And they were able to actually get the cart all the way through the tunnel and to the other side. So I think Southeast Oklahoma can position much, much better now instead of playing in that awkward tweener space between the cart where you have to go play the low ground, worry about the high ground. But now they're just going to go for the fist fight. It's going to be Nuggets taking down both supports. Pingvin has absolutely no chance of stopping that absolute onslaught. And just like that, Southeast Oklahoma pulls the trigger and they find a very good result.
Yeah, as we can see with the Winston composition, definitely looking a little bit easier to be able to navigate. But this is the second point. This is where Kansas was held up for quite a long time, and already Fake Alfie punishing Bill for getting a little bit too aggressive with those angles, finding the pick. Let's see how much time Kansas can hold up Southeastern. I think it's going to be very important to leave them as little time possible for third point.
Yeah, and if I'm allocated, I'm not sure I'm going to be throwing shoulders with Alfie because I saw that Genji get headshotted on 2 separate occasions in that fight, but luckily had a support there to assist him. But hey, if you just run down the Cassidy, they don't become much of a threat. The Deadeye has no chance of being invested. We do see Nuggets getting bombed back with the shield, and the Primal Rage eventually will expire. That's going to be a beautiful flashbang to shut the Winston down for a second, but now Zoro's going to replicate and turn into the Monk of the Road, so this is absolute pandemonium on the point. Zoro still looking to give chase, but it's going to be Goldie winning the Brig duel, taking down Dark Fox. There's the Deadeye at a fake Alfie, able to shut down the Genji. No Dragon Blade for the fight. So Kansas, they were looking pretty good in the early setting, but now you've got a low tank and a low support, so getting a little interesting.
Yeah, but they got the favorable picks. They're able to sustain for the time being. They are going to have to deal with this incoming allocated Blade with no defensive ultimates whatsoever. I mean, that was 3 ults Kansas committed to that last fight. SE should realize this is their time to strike with their Blade, with their rally.
Yeah, you could theoretically, right, you could maybe try to like nano the Hazard if you really want to, but ultimately it's not the greatest of nanos unless he also combos his ultimate. And then if you don't win the fight, it is looking gloom and doom, but now it's going to be a Dragon Blade from the top rope. That grenade was cash from Hey Pally, instantly finds the ante, and the Genji gets absolutely destroyed. But in the meantime, Southeast Oklahoma, the rest of the teammates are picking up the slack. They were able to shut down the entire backline in the blink of an eye off the back of Nuggets, Dark Fox, and Robotic there getting active at the end. And the Winston, again, just giving so much value and just gives you a little bit more forgiveness than the Hazard. You know, you are able to survive if people get on. You have the bubble, you've got the leaf, so more tools to get away as Alfie is going to pick up the Ashe, so more swaps coming in as we get near the end of the map soon enough.
Despite that Blade getting 0 value, it got a little bit of value in the situation. Basically, they forced both the supports off of the high ground, so then the rest of their team is able to much easier clean up the rest of the team because those supports just don't have that high ground positioning. So that was where it came in handy. As we're rounding the final corner for Southeastern, they have a lot of ultimates coming online as well.
I mean, the Primal Rage is arguably the best ulti in the game for this point because you can either just knock people silly out the back of the map, knock them back into the spawn, but the Hazard goes in a little bit too far, and Pingvin's actually going to go down, but Goldie and Fake Alfie are able to find beautiful exchanges in the meantime, and now the Primal Rage is going to be forced out as well, and again, they don't have to finish the map, they just got to get it close. As the Kitsune Rush comes in, Goldie's going to pop the rally, but instantly destroyed by the Winston, and now Fluff Nuggets is just taking out people with right-click after right-click, and Kansas Club is going to be sent packing 2.4 meters. Pingvin's going to be on about half HP. Goldie just now getting off a respawn, but it looks like Southeast Oklahoma, they may have done enough there.
That they did, folks. Southeastern Oklahoma University able to win their map choice of Gibraltar, tie up this series 1-1. Folks, we have ourselves a series, and it feels great. Considering our week number 1, we had 2 3-0s. Love to see a nice competitive series between these two teams.
Love to see different players stepping up at different times as well. Obviously, Nuggets was, I don't want to say full tank diff, but the way Pingdon was just playing those aggressive damage-dealing tanks and essentially just dictating what space and pace were being able to be taken. And then we just see Nuggets hop over to the Winston, and just an S+ game basically all the way through was the core reason they survived on defense. And then obviously on offense, when you're able to push the pace like that, and when you can have the other team swap to a Reaper to try to shut you down, and then essentially win 3 separate 1v1s against them, you know that you're in your bag, and they just played that perfectly at the end with a lot of time on the clock. That was clean for them.
And that's why that is Winton's home map. Winton Overwatch comes through in the big way. Well, folks, we have ourselves a tied series 1-1. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll see who's going to take that edge in the series. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to more Overwatch on NECC. We've got a series on our hands. Southeast Oklahoma, they end up winning map 2. They tie up the series, which means the map and the mode was obviously going to change hands. But I mean, fantastic series so far. We obviously are going to get at least a map 4, which we were not privy to a few weeks ago. Haven't seen too many new heroes yet, but listen, the tried and true classics, they have their place, they have their reason. They've done very, very well so far. Pingvin and, I mean, the 2 tanks have just made the more spectacular plays in some of the maps, so they've gotten a lot more shine. But just as a team, map 1 obviously very, very well coordinated. We talked about the alt charges being cycled well, and Southeast Oklahoma, I mean, fantastic defense to offense on Gibraltar, and I'm very excited to see what's going to come up next now because I have no clue.
As we do know for Southeastern Oklahoma, we do have Spacemaker coming in for Vale, so we'll have to see how that wrinkle, obviously Spacemaker didn't go so well for them on map number 1. Let's see how they can come back into on map 3, which you saw on the bottom. Esperanza is map number 3 with a Junker Queen band from Southeastern, which I think, makes a whole lot of sense. Considering what we saw on Lijiang Tower, and Kansas has responded by banning Juno, which that to me is like a kind of moment for me, because I'm like, it's not like we've seen Juno from either of these teams today. So I wonder where that one is coming from.
Yeah, I guess maybe thinking some of the move speed and I guess just maybe the ultimate healing. But again, you could even slot in something like the Lucio. There are other options where you can still get mobility and healing, but Juno can be annoying to deal with, but it doesn't feel like the most impactful of bans, certainly. And I even joke before that I wouldn't be surprised to see a target ban going Pingvin's direction. But listen, they played 2 dive, get in your face, kill you tanks. So you ban my Junker Queen, I'm just going to go back to the Hazard because they still did very, very well on it. Oh, new hero spotting as well.
Spotting here for the side of Southeastern. Let's see how this plays out. As I mentioned, she can dish out a ton of damage onto this field. So for Kansas, especially since you're playing this Hazard, you got to be careful when and where you take those dives, because Domina could blow you up before you have a chance to get out.
Oh, this is very, very exciting. Even though it's only one of the new heroes, at least the teams are willing to try something. And with how good Nuggets has played in the series, I certainly think this is going to be a very interesting choice. Again, like you said, surprising amount of damage when you're really not paying attention, trying to run down a Dominus. So they've got to be very, very careful with it. Obviously, a Reaper and a Genji still got a lot of backline DPS damage going for themselves, but yeah, they've just got to try to navigate. I'm sure they played against the hero enough, but now you're in an official. The series is 1-1. You lost momentum, so let's see exactly how the push goes. Looks like it's essentially a tie game for now.
Yeah, Zora got forced out there on that Reaper, got extremely low, was forced to fade out, but I mean, still can look to reload and re-engage here, as SC does have control of the bot right now, but I mean, like I mentioned, Domina can be run down. You just got to time it perfectly.
Oh, we are going to see Allocate. Oh my goodness, the Genji. I mean, that's a quick 2-piece, and that is exactly what you're looking for if you're the side of Southeast Oklahoma. And then the Photod Magnum and some help from Spacemaker able to clean up the rest of the kills, and a great opening salvo from the side of Southeast Oklahoma. They're going to find the team kill, and they're going to get a decent chunk of change here as the robot saunters forward.
Have we pulled ahead?
I will say that this is where Domina is going to succeed very highly if you just stand around and don't do anything. You gotta, you be putting action on the screen. Make Domina have to turn, look, go in a bunch of different directions. You just stand there. Just throw so much damage on the front line.
And then you've got a 700-foot sky-high barrier you can deploy as well, which we just saw on the high ground. So yeah, you've got a lot of ways to self-sustain. That Ramatra's looking very low. The cleanse may have gone through, but ultimately that cooldown not long enough. The damage goes through. So Pingdon swapping to the Ramatra, not finding that much value in the early going. Zoro doing a lot of good work in the corner, considering it was essentially 1v3, but eventually the DPS out of Southeast Oklahoma, they get their hands dirty, they get cooking, and Kansas essentially said packing yet again. I fear the Kiriko does not win these. Yeah, you're not winning that one. And it's going to be another essentially team kill, slightly delayed one, and more progress for the bot.
Yeah, they did use the Panopticon ult there from Fluffy Nuggets, which was a well-timed one to be able to, clean up 2 of those kills. But that's just one this ultimate you're not going to have coming into this next fight. But I would say, Fluffy's already almost caught up to Pingvin in the ult charge again because they swapped over the Ramatra. So, nothing ventured, nothing gained is the play there. And they got the 4 spawns out of it.
Yeah, and Domina having as much range as she does, obviously, with the Magnum, you can certainly just get that ult charge relatively easily and safely if you're playing with the rest of the squad. So, I mean, yeah, it's already at 53%. Fluffy is going to be passing Pingvin any moment now as we see Spacemaker getting sub back in for map 3 and making a massive impact on the Cassidy. That's 2 or 3 first bloods to really get the fight going, and we see a nice little Dragon Blade from the camp of Allocate, and Kansas Club Crimson, they are just scrambling right now. They have not found any semblance of an answer, as we see Zoro now swapping to the Sojourn, so even they can't really decide what's good this map.
They're still going to have a Blade, but I mean, Dark Fox is going to have that beat available. Kansas is just grasping for straws at this point, as Fluffy Nuggets already very close to another Panopticon, as now the high noons coming up. They have the speed. Can they get away in time? They do get allocated.
Yeah, they're able to stash themselves into a corner. That was very good movement out of the side of Kansas, and ultimately, they are going to find the kill onto Allocate, and Southeast Oklahoma wants to continue the fight 4v5, and they forced both of the support ultimates out of the side of Kansas. So, honestly, if you're Southeast Oklahoma, you don't want to ever lose a fight, but considering what you just got out of Kansas, that is not a bad trade. You traded Kitsune, Blade, and Deadeye for the double sub-ult, so still at 3 for 2, but the fact that you're up 121.8 meters means I think that's fine.
Couldn't agree with you more. You have the beat to deal with this incoming Blade and or Annihilation, depending on how you want to use it here. You still have your Panopticon. You got them to use a lot in that fight. Well played from the side of Southeastern.
And now we are going to see Domina trying to get active early on. The Ramatra pinged it. We talked about how well they were playing and how aggressive they were playing, but the Ramatra's not going to, you're very immobile for the most part. So once you get caught, you are essentially getting cooked. And the rest of the team joining you shortly thereafter. It is another team kill after the Panopticon and Southeast Oklahoma popping those support ultimates, and just to make sure they secure the fight, because at this point, the clock is absolutely the sixth man for Southeast Oklahoma. They can just run this down as much as they want, and yet the robot still on the other side of the map.
And they didn't even give a chance for any kind of ultimates coming out of Kansas. The Panopticon just shuts down any chance that they're able to take advantage of that. But now Kansas can re-engage here. They'll have 3 ultimates to be able to use. This is their opportunity to start getting some progress, some card progress in their favor.
Yeah, 4.5 minutes is a lot of time, but if you mess up, 1 or 2 more ult cycles, all of a sudden the game gets very, very dicey for the rest of your squad, and instantly there will be no overclock. The Ramatra is going to get cleansed up, but that's not nearly enough. The tree will also not be enough cover to hide the Ramatra. Nature essentially not good enough for you there. The Dragon Blade able to find some good value, though. They shut down the DPS and the support combo of Southeast Oklahoma, but the Domina and the Genji are still running a rough shot on the rest of the backline. Fluff Nuggets has a boatload of HP and a boatload of damage going hand in hand. New hero, Hudis.
Yeah, and they have that extra range perk as well, so they can just free fire from so far away and connect on so many different people. Gonna have another Panopticon, Blade, High Noon to go with all of that. And so we've seen no Annihilation still out of Penguin. They've been holding on to this for such a long time, and we have the overclock from Zoro.
This will be the 4th Panopticon to what will be Penguin's first ultimate. I don't know if they actually stayed on the hazard long enough to get it, and then they obviously didn't use it on the Ramatra earlier in the fight, and now there's not really a point in using it because you just got mollywopped off of the point. 4 players dead before you could even take a breath. And now Penguin, yep, I fear the result will be the same. So, waiting for the perfect annihilation, they have not used a tank ult. I'm pretty sure they didn't hazard ult, which has now been 6 minutes.
Yeah, it's been, damning to say the least. So going to go to the final quarter, 1 meter to go. The Blade's going to come out. Can they get this?
The overclock comes through as well, but I don't know if that's going to be enough because this Blade is cutting everybody down at the knees right now. Alfie's able to find another kill. Penguin gets shut down again. 15 kill streak for the new hero Domina, a team kill for Southeast Oklahoma, and a dominant map 3 win. That might have been 150 to 6.
That was a dominant Domina performance as well, coming out from the side of Southeastern Oklahoma University. I mean, again, you can talk about, the mistakes that the Ramatra not, ulting, quick enough, same with on the hazard. But at the end of the day, they were playing so well. It was 4-1, even if they had used it on time, you were still probably looking at a 3-1 ult advantage. That's just how well we were seeing the Domina being played from the side of Southeastern Oklahoma University. And now we kind of talked about this is kind of the 2-0 team we thought we were going to see. They got their momentum rolling after taking them Gibraltar and getting that map win, and now backs against the wall for this Kansas squad, needing to win the next 2 maps in a row. But this next map pick does go into their favor, so we got to see where they want to take it from here on out.
And I fear Southeast Oklahoma may have figured out the answers to that tank test on the other side, because you banned out the Queen. You essentially made the Hazard unplayable for that entire map, the short duration that it was out there. And even you said it too, Annihilation may have helped in one of those fights, but if Southeast Oklahoma just decides to split up and Domina goes and takes space, I mean, it's a nice ultimate. You're not going to walk up and kill 5 players by yourself. It just, that's not going to happen in a million years. So might have helped a little bit, but 150 to like 7 or 8 meters. I mean, that game was essentially only going in one direction, and a lot of credit to Southeast Oklahoma, willing to try the new pick and obviously finding a ton of success with it. We saw, was it Spacemaker come back in from Vale, played very, very well on the Cassidy after a rough map 1. So everybody's confidence is back up. You're up 2-1 in the series. I'm sure they're having a very good time now.
Yeah, you just need one more map win. You're going to put yourself at 3-0, which, I mean, not guaranteed to make playoffs at that point, but I mean, very high chance of you being able to do that as we round in to the middle mark of the season. But again, with all these teams, I mean, the way Lijiang Tower went in the favor of Kansas early on. I mean, they're going to have that Junker Queen back at their disposal. I mean, what's left? You got to go to Flashpoint and you got to go to Hybrid. Take it to a Flashpoint. Take them to Suravasa. Junker Queen's great on that map. I would look to do that because they can't ban it out anymore.
Yeah, honestly, I think that is going to be the best play, at least from what we've seen out of Pingvin. I mean, they haven't really played any of the stand there and soak tanks. Obviously, no Orisa, no Reinhardt. We have it with the Ramatra briefly there at the end. We didn't see them really pick up the Winston at all, I don't think. I think it was the Hazard that entire map on Gibraltar, basically. So they clearly have one style, or so it appears, at least through the first 3 maps. They haven't shown that they're willing to step outside of that bubble, which means I think Southeast Oklahoma just has a very good read on the series now. But I definitely agree. Queen looks like their best pick so far in the series. Suravasa tailors to the character extremely well. It's just, what are you going to play around it? And now that, right, you have to find an answer for so many things to shut down Southeast Oklahoma. Nuggets has been playing incredible. Both of the DPS started popping off, and it just feels like they kind of got their groove back halfway through that Gibraltar.
Agreed. So, I mean, again, as I kind of preluded to, just a lot of pressure on the back of the Kansas squad to be able to take both of these maps back to back, especially since map number 5 is going to be in the favor map pick wise of Southeastern Oklahoma if we do get to that point. But as I mentioned, I feel like you just got to take it to a map where you feel confident in. None of the hybrids really scream Queenie. Maybe Kings Row if you want to go there, but I just feel like the flatness of a lot of those Flashpoint maps, and specifically Suravasa, is just going to lend itself a little bit better to playing that Junker Queen Rush composition. That's where we saw them at their best back on Lijiang Tower. The question is, has the side of Southeastern Oklahoma figured out a way to get around that if we do get to that point where it's going to be Junker Queen? What do they do?
And we've still got about 4 heroes in the chamber that have not been selected. So maybe Southeast Oklahoma goes, hey, we're up 2-1. This would be a very good time to try something. You never want to like throw away a map, especially in an official. That's what scrims are for. But I definitely could see them maybe trying. I'm not saying they're going to run that 5 new hero comp. I don't expect they're going to go completely off the wall like that. But the Domino works so well. Maybe we slide in one of the DPS. Maybe we trade out one of the supports. Selfishly, maybe we get a cat on Suravas. I know might not be necessarily the greatest pick of all time, but I think the floor just opens up a lot more. We obviously have a lot of bans that are now off the table, so I'm fully expecting to see Suravasa and the Queen from the side of Kansas, but they've just really got to figure out how do we play around Pingvin, because when Pingvin has done well, they've won, and when they've got taken down and they've got picked off, they have essentially lost every fight very, very quickly. So how can you just, I'm assuming will be the Junker Queen if that is the map we go to. How do we just keep her upright as long as possible?
Agreed. Excuse me. And then, I mean, we're still waiting on the map and the bands coming in. Have you been able to play a lot of the new patch at all?
I've only played a few, maybe maybe 5 or 6 games just working everything else the last couple of weeks. I played 2 games on Jetpack Cat for the memes because I had to. I messed around in practice range the day the heroes came out, but I haven't played any of the new DPS. I played 2 games of Domina, 2 games of Jetpack Cat, and then just played against the heroes and a mishmash a few of the other games.
Okay. I was gonna ask her opinion on the heroes, which you haven't really played to me. I mean, I don't think this hero is like meta defining or anything, but I think Mizuki's an extremely fun hero to play. Being able to dish out a lot of damage. I think that chain, I have now decided. I used to say Sigma Rock was like the most satisfying cooldown to hit. I think the chain is now like up there as like my number one. Like that one just feels very awesome when you hit it. And then like Rock, like sometimes there's a good chance that you can escape if you get hit by rock. Chain, it almost feels like you're almost, I'd say 85% of the time guaranteed to get the kill if you hit that chain.
Yeah, I did luckily play with a few good Mizuki players that the matchmaking god smiled upon me, and sometimes it literally was like, oh, you're just delivering me free kills on cooldown every single time you just walk out. It's like, who am I going to just decide that your day is done? I'm going to send you to the gray screen. And yeah, there's certainly a lot of pick potential, which can make fights very snappy too, because all of a sudden everyone's posturing, things are fine. And similar to a Roadhog hook, it's like, boom, clap your hands and somebody instantly gets taken out. New Junk City is going to be the map. So, I mean, certainly still expecting to see the Queen. It is her home turf, but
oh yeah,
it's going to open up a lot for sure. That's exciting though. That's a good pick.
I agree.
Penguin
like
smiling.
even like my team that I play on, we don't really play Junker Queen, but on New Junk City we play Junker Queen. I don't know why that didn't pop into my head when I was thinking about the possible maps, but this is a fantastic Junker Queen map. I mean, as you mentioned, home turf, but it's also just super flat, super well designed to be able to play that. So the question for Southeastern Oklahoma University is, what do you look to ban here? I'm like, maybe you look to ban a possible Lucio and try and take away the speed that the Junker Queen relies on. I mean, you have your shout, but you really need that Lucio speed boost to get you around without needing to constantly use your shout.
I would never be opposed to, if you think you have the edge on a team, the beat drop is essentially a get out of jail free second chance at a fight ultimate. So if you just take that off the table, say, listen, we're not going to be relying on the beat drop. We're expecting to have the advantage. If we can just take that ultimate out of the game, they have now just lost. I mean, it's arguably one of the best ultimates in the game, if not the best, just because of the sheer value if you connect it on all players. So Baptiste, Cassidy actually are going to be the ban. So Cassidy definitely going to be a ban in for Space Maker because they did extremely well on that last map. But the Baptiste ban is, I'd certainly know that Baptiste can work well on this map, but we just haven't seen it in the series. So,
I mean, is that ban for Space Maker? Because that was by Space Maker's team.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So that makes that ban
that's
even more
for
confusing to me. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The Baptiste maybe is like, if they're playing Junker Queen, they just don't want to have to deal with Immortality Field messing up any kind of coordinated strike they get. Like, if you get a nice timed Immortality Field to negate the Carnage strike, maybe that's what they're worried about. But I wouldn't expect Baptiste into the mix on this map.
Yeah, and even if they were to pull out the Baptiste, I certainly don't think it was going to be the pick that turned the tide, or we won this map because the Baptiste had a perfect lamp, we shredded them through the window. Like, probably would have found some value, but I don't think it was going to be that game wrecker that the Lucio can be, or some of these other supports potentially. But now we get to see if anyone's willing to stretch their legs a little bit. Nuggets is going to hop on the Domina yet again. I love to see it. Alacade will be hopping on to the Vendetta, and Zoro's Tracer will now be allowed, so they're going to scoop that up. And of course, Penguin on the Queen.
I will say, this is the danger zone I kind of talked about. If you are playing Domina compositions, it can be rushed down pretty heavily. I talked about Ramatra, but Junker Queen also falls into that category. So SC is going to have to play pretty picture perfect if they want to make this Domina work against this rushed Queen composition.
See if Space Maker does swap. Yep, I figured a swap would come through. I didn't know exactly what they were eyeing up. Obviously, they banned away the Cassidy, so can't go wrong with Soldier. And honestly, it works on every map. It's been very, very good since the day the game got updated and released. So we're going to run that back, see how much value they can find yet again. And yeah, the tank matchup is what I'm interested in, especially how fast Fluff Nuggets has been getting that Pentopticon online. They got it like 6 times in the push, and they were getting that percentage up, doing a lot of damage. So if you can just keep spamming that, I think Southeast Oklahoma is going to be in another real good spot.
The rotates coming out from both these teams are looking pretty good. Dominant trying to keep their distance.
Yeah, and actually, it's Southeast Oklahoma just going to give a little bit of space off that rotation. They're going to let Kansas go for the early capture, and now we can go toe-to-toe on the outskirts of the Coliseum here, the Thunderdome, and see how much damage we can put out. Barrier is going to get laid down by Nuggets there as they try to collect the kill onto the point, but ultimately it's going to be Space Maker gets isolated out first. Fake Alfie able to cook something up on the Genji, and that is a big cleanse to keep the Queen alive for a few more moments, but Domina certainly not afraid to get her hands dirty in this fight, but unfortunately, Southeast Oklahoma, they were very, very split. They were playing 3 separate games at the same time. They did actually get a back cap, which I guess good for them, but they will lose the fight.
Yeah, and this is Kansas when we've seen them at their most comfortable, playing that Junker Queen, going double flex. We haven't seen that out of them yet, but I mean, it's definitely within their hero pools, obviously, with the Tracer Genji. So it's just a lot of angles you're having to deal with if you're the side of Southeastern Oklahoma. You're the one who banned the Cash. You can't really deal with the Tracer. Cash is normally one of the heroes you use to deal with Tracer.
Yeah, I guess now you play the Venture instead, and if you can't necessarily deal with the Tracer one-on-one, you can just ignore it and run away and live to fight another day. Unfortunately, Allocade will not be doing such a thing. Pentopticon not going to be able to land onto anything. That one's going to go a little bit wide, so Kansas, they're going to get that tank cooldown burned early. Space Maker's not able to survive, but Domina able to find a kill in the meantime. So this point is not going to be over yet. That knockback was beautifully timed out of Nuggets, and unfortunately, it looks like it's a 3 or a 4-on-1, so I do think that Kansas is going to win surely momentarily here. Yep.
Yeah, point 1 going in favor of Kansas. And again, this is kind of what I talked about. Fluff Nuggets on the Domina is just not able to be as impactful when you have this Lucio Junker Queen speeding around, getting around you. I still think, I don't know what they were doing banning the cast. I think you should have taken the Lucio out of commission.
Well, Space Maker is now just spinning the wheel of heroes because now we've got a Mei sighting, so essentially can't really figure out what they want to do. In Kansas, I just realizing now, they were able to win that fight in that entire point. They've got 5 check marks on the screen, and Penguin's actually going to get taken down. I saw Zoro swing the pulse bomb. I thought maybe that would be the opening pick that Kansas needed, but their tank will be the one to fall ultimately, and that means this point should be early access to the side of Southeast Oklahoma. The Mei obviously extremely annoying in some parts of this map with that ice wall, and they're going to get the capture and reset as their ultimates begin to build up.
I actually think the swap over to the Mei is a very smart one coming out from Southeastern Oklahoma. I mean, this Junker Queen composition thrives on them all coordinating on the targets together. If you can get the isolation under the Junker Queen with a Mei wall, there's not going to be a whole lot that Junker Queen can do. You don't have a shield or anything.
Oh, the go button has been activated from the side of Kansas. They're going to send in the beat and the blade, but it's going to be the counter beat from from Dark Fox. Fluff Nuggets does use the Pentopticon, but unfortunately doesn't find anything, and now it's going to be the dueling blade. Allocate held onto that one a few seconds longer. 87 HP, but still alive in the fight. Both supports alive for Southeast Oklahoma. Penguin will win the 1v1, and I fear that somebody may have lagged out. I was like, man, this is a weird Genji. When did Genji start doing this? But then I realized that they don't. 800 ninja stars later.
Yeah, right.
My Genji.
Oh man, that was funny. We'll get you guys back into that action as soon as we can. Not sure if we had an observer problem there, or if that player actually did lag out. But once we know, we'll get you guys immediately back in. But I mean, Southeastern Oklahoma, I was talking about how I felt like the Domina wasn't doing a whole lot. They started to really turn that around. I do think a lot of that was the cataclysm of the fact that the Junker Queen composition, they haven't been able to rush onto anything really. But I think that's you know, a big tick toward the Mei being able to isolate people, and they're just throwing so much damage down under the Junker Queen before they can initiate that rush that, you know, even with the shout, they're still low on health and they have to get there healed up, and then more damage keeps going, throwing down. So I think for the side of Kansas, they need to start finding some better, you know, flank routes or angles to be able to get in. As we now come back to this, Southeastern Oklahoma took the point, and now they're on Reinhardt.
Now there's a Reinhardt on my screen all of a sudden, so we hopped in and hopped back out, and Listen, I'm one of the biggest Reinhardt enjoyers in North America, so I absolutely love the pick, even when it's bad, but we will see. I mean, you kind of called it too. You said the Domino it started to come online, but it wasn't really finding that value they were hoping, so they're going to decide, let's just play the absolute meatball, can be very, very good into the Queen as well, because you can do things like this, where if you've got healers next to you, you are going to win that fight. The Rampage is going to connect onto 3. The beat drop's going to be the answer, though. Shatter's almost online as well, so Nuggets could potentially make an insane play, but they don't even need it. The hammer is all that they need. The Fire Strike's going to connect. Very low on HP now, though, and now Fake Alfie's going to go for the late Dragon Blade to try to save the fight. They are able to find a few kills, shut down the tank, shut down the subs, and they are able to hold on to the point, despite that was a fist fight. It's still a 1v1.
Yeah, they're able to get the win in the end, but the respawns are back for the side of Southeastern Oklahoma University. They have the ultimates, but they get allocated. Fake Alfie putting on a show.
This is what you want your Genji to be doing. You want them to have time, space, and just take to the skies and hack everybody up to bits. Fake Alfie able to pop the blade in that fight, get back to 50% essentially before Southeast Oklahoma is even going to reappear in the area. So certainly a very, very strong team fight, but Southeast Oklahoma, Kitsune, Blizzard, and Dragon Blade, these are going to be tough to play around even with the beat drop in tow.
See Kitsune Rush coming in as Fluff
Oh!
is already swapped over to the Domino once again.
Genji, Fake Alfie just ripped the Space Maker apart with the shurikens from long range. It was outside of a doorway in the other room and still was able to find the kill. And now that's going to force the Dragon Blade out of Allocate to try to save the point, but things may be looking a little bit rough unless they can find another kill. The tank's going to be low. Nuggets back on the Domina and ultimately falling back. The result is the same. Goldie finds 2 more and Kansas wins the 3rd point.
As now it looks like Ducks is going to be the next point, so really good RNG for the side of Kansas. They're going to be able to set themselves up perfectly on this point, as Southeast is going to have to look to try and find an angle, and they will have a Blizzard to be able to do that. But with the Kitsune Rush and possible really quick cleanses coming online, it's going to be tough, especially with the mobility these players have. It's going to be hard to find a good Blizzard.
And Kansas having early rotation to this flashpoint after winning the last one means the Blizzard's going to be a little harder to find value on because you have to play into the side of Kansas. They don't have to come to you, so we are going to see the May block up in ice. They were able to shut down the Kitsune and the Kiriko, so the fact that Pally's down, I mean, right now, Southeast Oklahoma, this is your time to go, and it looks like they are agreeing with the sentiment. The May dealing a ton of damage, able to finally take the Queen down, but the throwing knife gets traded out. In the meantime, Allocated Fluff Nuggets doing a whole lot of work on the back line, and this point will be flipped once Genji does get taken out. Triple kill for the opposing Genji Allocade, and point flip.
They're able to win that with no ult commitment, and they got Hey Polly to use that Kitsune Rush relatively early in that fight. I think the one thing you have going for you for Kansas in this next fight is Dark Fox is still a good 20% away from that beat, so you can look to quickly look to Blade and try and set something up here, but you got to go quickly.
Oh, then we're going to see the Pentopticon trying to shut down the Queen nice and early. The DPS is looking very good out of the Domina, but they're taking a whole lot in exchange, and the Dragon Blade is essentially going to seal the deal on that fight. We saw the Blizzard invested as well. So Southeast Oklahoma using a few big tools there, and they're not able to come up with anything. Until then, the pulse bomb from Zoro, able to take down 2 in the meantime. So Space Maker and Fluff and Zoro all trading each other out. Eventually, Kansas gets the flip, but everyone finding some flashy moment there in the dust-up.
However, things shift back into the favor of Kansas for this next fight because they have both their Rampage and their beat for this next fight. Dark Fox will have the ability to beat this Rampage, but this Blade is probably will come out with nothing with the beat from Goldie, so they have to win in the neutral if you're Southeastern Oklahoma.
And luckily for Southeast Oklahoma, you did get a fair bit of percentage, so you're only going to be down a few percent. The contest should be coming through momentarily. Goldie's going to activate the beat early. That means Southeast Oklahoma can use the last beat if they want. And now they've got beat and Blade. You've got to think that that combo has got to be invested sooner than later. There is the beat. There is the Blade. Space Maker's able to shut down the tank immediately, and this fight is over for Kansas. They may survive a few more seconds, but they are going to be sent packing. And in the nick of time, Southeast Oklahoma, they will save the flashpoint.
Yeah, no Rampage used for the side of Kansas, so that's good. They're going to have that for this next fight. But you're facing down a Blizzard and a Kitsune Rush to try and help deal with that, just the potency that the Rampage can bring online. Let's see if they look. Yeah, they have good positions to be able to touch here. However, they're just going to go straight to the point. That's a lot of damage already taken by the Queen. They're down.
And the Pentopticon wasn't even invested. I think Nuggets was thinking about it, but then the teammate just came in and body bagged fake Alfie, so not even any need for it. We saw Pingvin taken down first there as well in Southeast Oklahoma. Granted, for Kansas, that wasn't an organized push. That was, we have 4 seconds to get on this point or we're going to lose the point anyway. So they kind of just full sent it there. They didn't really have a choice. They didn't bother investing any ultimates. Obviously not going to be worth it, but now this is for the series. If Southeast Oklahoma holds on, this series is over. It is 3-1. We are out of here. Kansas, let's see what you got.
Yeah, that's the one good thing. No ultimate commitment, as you mentioned. Great push coming in from there. Let's see if they're going to use the Panopticon. They do. They force out the Kitsune.
And Pingvin's gonna fall again. They isolate the tank. Southeast Oklahoma's been doing an amazing job of shutting down the Junker Queen, but now you've got to deal with the Dragon Blade. They are gonna take down Pally. The reset off the Blade eventually not gonna be enough though. The Domina's gonna win that one out. The Pulse Bomb's gonna go wide. Kansas able to find the capture though because they got a whole lot of kills in exchange, and now Nuggets is gonna get staggered out. Maybe the May can find a kill here potentially. Spacemaker though, yet not enough mobility to deal with the Tracer. And it's going to be about 35-40% before Southeast Oklahoma really gets a good touch here.
Yeah, those late staggers are devastating for the side of Southeastern Oklahoma, but you did get Kansas to use both their DPS ultimates and their Kitsune Rush. You're dealing with their final 2 ultimates, which are the Rampage and the Beat, but you will have a Blizzard to try and help out with that.
Yeah, and Pingvin, again, we kind of talked about them not really being able to use the tank ultimate in the push game at all and waiting for the perfect time, and luckily they have controlled the point. There's the perfect time, but it is going to get cleansed out, which is a beautiful Suzu out of Robotic Cat, and now the Blizzard is going to be used to try to zone off the tank for the rest of the squad, but it's a late beat drop from Goldie, and Kansas Club Crimson wants to go down swing, and the beat drop's going to connect onto all of Southeast Oklahoma as well, and that means they've got a massive advantage in the second fight here, and now you've got Dark Fox and crew able to push their weight around on the site. Desperately needed a team fight win, and the fact that they're going to have 3 ultimates for the next go round is massive. 99-0, but they hold serve.
This is going to be tough. You have 2 fights, essentially, if you're Kansas, to try and force a map number 5. All they're going to have is Pulse for this next fight. Southeastern Oklahoma, realize the advantage that you are sitting at. You cannot use all of your ultimates in this next fight. Look to use 1, maybe 2. You got to save some of it for the final fight.
Yeah, I think you've got to save. I mean, the beat drop's not even close to being online, but one of these support ultimates I think is going to have to be safe for that final fight. You're going to need every little bit of sustained and move speed that you can get your hands on. We are going to see Nuggets, though, could potentially look for a Pentopticon angle if the Junker Queen steps out too far. It's going to connect onto the Queen. Are they able to find the shutdown and the kill? They actually are. Dark Fox does get traded out, but tank for support is not the worst trade in the world. But unfortunately, for Southeast Oklahoma, you've got no supports left. But Spacemaker's taking down everybody, and then the late blade out of Allocade. The ultimates are cycled beautifully from Southeast Oklahoma, and there may be a last-second contester. It looks like Kansas will make it back in time, but they've got no ultimates online to try to just get that winning edge. They've got to go now.
Yeah, that they do not. And they're going to be facing a Blizzard. Oh, they don't touch! Southeastern Oklahoma with the perfect boop coming in on the Lucio, win the map and the series 3-1 and keep themselves at 3-0.
And they fully reverse sweep the final flashpoint. It was 99-0. They win by the skin of their teeth, and then they clutch up at the end a massive boop and a comp that is amazing for zone control. They finally get to play a little bit of defense. They're not chasing around the side of Kansas trying to figure out how do we get on Zoro, how do we get on the Queen. They were able to finally play defense, hunker down. That is exactly what the May and the Lucio want to do, and they were able to clutch up at the end. That was a fantastic series, and almost feels like we were robbed of a map 5, but with how well Southeast Oklahoma just dialed in there at the end, you gotta give it to them.
Yeah, Southeastern Oklahoma State University, huge shout-outs, 3-0 on the season. Extremely impressive tonight. You know, Lijiang Tower aside, the other 3 maps looked pretty dang good. Seems like they have a good grasp of Domina. And this is kind of what I expected. I didn't think any of the supports would be super, high played, but Domino was always going to be a possibility. And we did see that, as you can see on the bottom of the screen. Started on Lijiang Tower, where Kansas came out swinging, but then the 3-0 SE found them footing, able to win the next 3 maps in a row. Huge shout outs to Kansas, though. It was a very tight series for a lot of those maps.
Yeah, I mean, as close as you could have cut it, you were 1% off winning that flashpoint. You just didn't have the cooldowns at the right time. We saw them doing amazing job of isolating Pingvin at the end of the game. They're Pentopticon 2 fights in a row, I believe. Basically, Nuggets saying, listen, I will jump on the queen. We will deal with her, and we will figure out the rest after. If Pingvin's dead, I even said it before game 4. If we kill Pingvin, 99% chance we're going to win the fight. Alfie did have some amazing blades and great plays on the Genji to try to will them into victory, but they were able to isolate the tank, shut down what I considered to be the main problem, and a hard-fought series win, and certainly a good test for them.
Couldn't agree. As Kansas, I know you got to win coming down the line. You had flashes of greatness in this series. It will only take time. Just keep working at it. SE, Southeastern Oklahoma State University. Let's see how this goes. 3-0, as I mentioned, puts you in a great spot to try and make that final tournament in the spring semester. But with that, we are going to go on a little bit of a break. It's going to be about a 40-minute break. We'll be coming back at 9 Eastern for our second match, as we will be dropping down to Division 4 as we have Tarleton State Purple going up against San Diego State Black, both 2-0. You are not going to want to miss that. We'll be back in about 40 minutes.